For thousands of years, humans have been asking themselves the age-old question, which actor has the most of their characters turned into Lego minifigures? Since the dawn of IP figures with Star Wars in 1999, soon to be followed by Harry Potter and many more to come, Lego have continued to produce more and more varied sets across pop culture, which has resulted in thousands of variant minifigures depicting these characters and moments. Today, we're going to take a look at every actor that has 2 or more minifigures, all the way up to our champion with a double-digit number that will stand far above the rest. You can throw out the Oscars, go ahead and melt down the Golden Globes, cancel the Emmys, because this is the prestigious club that any true thespian yearns to join. Before we dive in, we need to set some basic ground rules for determining what does and does not qualify for this list. First up, only unique versions of a character count towards our total. Harrison Ford is not getting credit for every minifigure that depicts his Han Solo, as they are all the same character. But same characters portrayed by different actors across media or time will count, so long as a specific version of that character does exist as a minifigure. Ewan McGregor gets credit for minifigures depicting his live-action Obi-Wan Kenobi, while James Arnold Taylor gets credit for the Clone Wars version of the figure. Chris Pratt doesn't get any credit for any Mario figures, as there are none that are specifically referencing his film's version of the character. Brick-built figures are fair game, as are friends, mini dolls, and other molded parts like animals. Basically, anything you'd find under minifigure on Bricklink counts. I generally did not include characters that only exist as a full model set, think like Optimus Prime, except for a few outliers, which I included because, hey, it's my list, and I make the rules, and I break the rules. This list does include live action and voice actors. I generally did not include voice actors who have only appeared in LEGO IP, such as like Ninjago, Chima, Hero Factory, etc. I did, however, include some of those characters, but only if their voice actors had other traditional IPs to put them on the list. I also counted the LEGO movies as separate from other LEGO IP. I treated them as their own thing, as these movies have a much wider audience than the television shows, and they're kind of their whole own thing. Last but not least, there are a lot of LEGO sets and a lot of LEGO minifigures. I had to browse through over 1,000 catalog listings just from the last 20 months into the near future alone. So if I've missed any, make sure you let me know in the comments below so my list can be more complete. My research is good, but I am human, so I'm almost definitely have missed a handful or more. And while you're commenting about my failures, make sure you smash that like button real quick. I'd really appreciate it, and consider subscribing to the channel if you do like the video. With all the ground rules out of the way, it's time to find out who reigns supreme. There's nearly 400 minifigures represented by over 100 actors, so let's go ahead and get to it. This is beginner mode right here. This is 2 characters that come from the same IP. We're going to start off with some Star Wars characters, and then we'll make our ways through some other classic IPs. First up, we have Dave Filoni, the new Star Wars godfather himself. He was Embo in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and C-110P, otherwise known as Chopper, from Rebels. We have Ray Stevenson, who was Baylan Skoll in Star Wars Ahsoka, and Gar Saxon in the Clone Wars / Rebels. Next up, we have Kenny Baker, who was inside of R2-D2, and also inside of the Paploo costume in the original Star Wars films. James Arnold Taylor was Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and also did the voice of Plo Koon in Star Wars The Clone Wars. Moving on, we have Dave Goelz, I think you pronounce his name. He is the voice of Gonzo from The Muppets and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew from The Muppets. Continuing on with some costumed characters, we have Carol Spinney, the voice and the costuming of Big Bird on Sesame Street, as well as Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street. Up next, Pat Roach, 2 different characters from Indiana Jones, The Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was the airplane mechanic. If you look it up on Bricklink, you'll find this guy, as well as Temple Guard 2, aka the Chief Guard from the same film. Terry Notary was Teenage Groot on set in Infinity War and Endgame. He was the mocap guy, as well as Cull Obsidian from the same films. Chris Miller, the voice of Chocolate Bar from Lego Movie 2. Really love this little brick-built figure here. Very cute. And Plantimal, a different brick-built figure. Margot Rubin, the voice of Harley Quinn, Apocalypseburg in the Lego Movie 2, and the voice of Susan in the Lego Movie 2. Melissa Sturm was Gail, the construction worker in the Lego Movie, and Ma Cop in the Lego Movie. And then finally in this category, J.K. Simmons, kind of a cheat here, J. Jonah Jameson from the Sam Raimi trilogy, and J. Jonah Jameson from Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, while this is both J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, they are two different universes of J. Jonah Jameson's. So to me, definitely counts. Moving on to easy mode. These are people that have two characters that come from two different IP. So again, we're going to start off with actors who portray a Star Wars character. First up, Benicio del Toro portraying DJ the Codebreaker from Star Wars Episode 8, and also the Collector from the MCU. Really rare minifig there. I think it was a Comic-Con exclusive. Next up, we're looking at Laura Dern, Vice Admiral Holdo from Star Wars Episode 8, and Dr. Ellie Sattler from Jurassic Park. Real classic there with Laura Dern. Sir Christopher Lee as Count Dooku from the Star Wars prequels, and Saruman the White from Lord of the Rings. And then we have Lupita Nyong'o. She is Maz Kanata from Episode 7 in Star Wars, and Nakia in the MCU. Kieran Shaw as Tito from The Force Awakens and the Goblin Scribe in The Hobbit. Keira Knightley, Queen Amidala, the decoy from Star Wars Episode 1, and Elizabeth Swann from Pirates of the Caribbean. I did catch a little flack before about Keira Knightley for Queen Amidala, but canonically in the films, she is the only one seen wearing that costume, so therefore, she's the one as that minifigure. Next up, we have Steve Blum, Garza Borrelios, great character from Star Wars Rebels, and Beetle from Ultimate Spider-Man. Then we're looking at Matt Lanter, many people's version of Anakin Skywalker in their hearts from the Clone Wars, and also the voice of Venom from Ultimate Spider-Man. Then we have Kevin Michael Richardson. He is Chase Malcolm from The Old Republic, and Shredder from the TMNT 2012 version of the cartoon. Then we have Rupert Friend. He is the Grand Inquisitor in the show Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as Martin Krebs in Jurassic World Rebirth. Moving on to Billy D. Williams, of course, Lando Calrissian from Star Wars, the original films and the sequels, and then Two-Face in the Lego Batman movie. Up next, we have Ming-Na Wen, the voice of Mulan, and Fennec Shand in Star Wars The Mandalorian. We have Rosario Dawson, of course, Ahsoka Tano in the new live-action versions of the character, and Barbara Gordon in Lego Batman movie. Then we have Natalie Portman, of course, Padme Amidala in Star Wars Episodes 1 through 3, and Mighty Thor Jane Foster in Thor Love and Thunder. Then we have Gaten Matarazzo, the voice of Sig Griebling in Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, and of course, Dustin Henderson from Stranger Things, an awesome minifigure there. Then we're looking at Jonas Suatomo. Apologies if I did not pronounce that correctly, but he is Chewbacca in the Star Wars Solo film and the sequels, as well as Lurch on the new Wednesday film. That's a minifigure that's not quite out yet, but will be out very soon. It is announced. Ben Mendelsohn, love this guy. He is director Orson Krennic from Star Wars Rogue One and Andor, as well as Talos from Captain Marvel, and then I think that character appears in some of the TV properties. David Tennant as the voice of Professor Huyang in Star Wars Ahsoka, and the Mad-Eye Moody transformation minifigure here is Barty Crouch Jr. Up next, Domhnall Gleeson as General Hux in the Star Wars sequels, and finally Bill Weasley getting a minifigure in 2025 after a million years of sitting on the sidelines. We'll continue on with some more Harry Potter connections here. We have Helena Bonham Carter as Bellatrix Lestrange, and Red Harrington from the Lone Ranger sets, Ezra Miller as Credence Barebone in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and The Flash in the DCU. Sir Gary Oldman, the recently knighted Sir Gary Oldman as Sirius Black in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and on, as well as Commissioner James Gordon in the Nolan trilogy. David Thewlis as Remus Lupin, and Ares from the Justice League. Next up, we have, of course, He Who Must Not Be Named, Ralph Fiennes as Lord Voldemort, along with his Alfred Pennyworth voicing in the Lego Batman movie. Then we have Toby Jones as Dobby and Gunnar Eversole from the Jurassic World properties. We really need to get a Zola minifigure. The fact that Arnim Zola has not had a minifigure for Toby Jones yet is pretty sad. Then we've got Colin Farrell, of course, as Percival Graves in the Fantastic Beasts films, as well as not recognizable being the Penguin in the Batman and his own TV show of the same name. We're going to move on with some more various MCU characters. We've got David Harbour as the Rare Red Guardian minifigure. I believe this one might have been Comic-Con exclusive as well, from the Black Widow film, as well as the Thunderbolts, I believe, though I have yet to see it. And of course, Chief Jim Hopper from Stranger Things. Up next, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio from Spider-Man Far From Home, and a minifigure as Dastan from The Prince of Persia as well. Then we've got another Chris, many Chris's on this list, Chris Hemsworth as Thor from the MCU, and Kevin Beckman in the Ghostbusters reboot. And we have another night, Sir Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin or Trevor Slattery in Iron Man 3, and Nizam from Prince of Persia as well. Brian Tyree Henry shows up as Phastos from the Eternals, and a minifigure newly made for him as Jeff Morales from the Spider-Verse films. Then we have Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo from the Eternals, and also the voice of Jay in the Lego Ninjago movie. Moving on to Evangeline Lilly as Wasp in Ant-Man 2, and Toriel from the Hobbit films. Then we have Lee Pace, gray minifigure as Ronan the Accuser in a few of the MCU films, and Thranduil from the Hobbit films. Scarlett Johansson, classic Black Widow minifigures galore for that character, as well as Zora Bennett from Jurassic World Rebirth. Then we have Zendaya showing up as MJ in the Spider-Man Homecoming and further MCU films, and Shani from the Dune franchise. Next, we have Josh Brolin as Thanos from the MCU and Gurney Halleck from the Dune franchise. Moving on, Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop from the Hawkeye television show, and Spider-Gwen from the Spider-Verse films, officially getting a specific Spider-Verse rendition of this character, as there were a lot of Spider-Gwen minifigures before, but some folks pointed out that they were not necessarily attributed to the Spider-Verse film, but the new one from the CMF series is. Then we have Hugo Weaving as Red Skull in the MCU and classically Elrond in The Lord of the Rings. Another Chris Evans here as Captain America in the MCU and his version of Buzz Lightyear from the Lightyear film. Christian Bale showing up as Gore from Thor Love and Thunder and Batman in the Nolan trilogy. Jeffrey Wright was the voice of the Watcher in the What If series on Disney Plus and was Lieutenant James Gordon in the Batman film. We're going to continue with a smattering of characters from a number of other IPs. We have Christopher Daniel Barnes as the voice of Electro in the Ultimate Spider-Man show, and Prince Eric in the Little Mermaid film. Bryce Dallas Howard as Gwen Stacy in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, and then Claire Dearing in the Jurassic World film. We have Sir Ian McKellen, of course, as Gandalf from Lord of the Rings and Magneto from X-Men. Orlando Bloom as Will Turner from Pirates of the Caribbean, and Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Another Lord of the Rings classic character here is Sean Astin as Samwise Gamgee, and also the voice of Raphael from the TMNT 2012 show. We have Tony Shalhoub as Luigi from Cars, and Splinter from the 2014 TMNT movie. Then we have Armie Hammer, of course, Lone Ranger from the Lone Ranger, and the voice of Jackson Storm from the Cars films. Josh Gad as the voice of Chuck from Angry Birds and the voice of Olaf from Frozen. Zoe Kravitz shows up as Selena Kyle from The Batman and Catwoman from the Lego Batman film. And then we're going to go into a few Ghostbusters actresses next. We have Annie Potts as Janine Melnitz and also as Bo Peep from the Toy Story franchise. Kristen Wiig as Aaron Gilbert in Ghostbusters, as well as Dr. Barbara Minerva or Cheetah in Wonder Woman 1984. We have Kate McKinnon as Jillian Holtzman in Ghostbusters and Stella in Angry Birds. Melissa McCarthy as Abby Yates in Ghostbusters and Ursula from The Little Mermaid. And then we have some characters from the Lego Ideas sitcom-based sets. We have Kunal Nayyar as Raj Kuthropoli, and apologies if I didn't pronounce that very well, but that's from The Big Bang Theory. Also the voice of Guy Diamond from Trolls World Tour. Steve Carell as Michael Scott from The Office, and the voice of Gru in Despicable Me. And we have Wayne Knight as Newman, and Dennis Nedry in the Jurassic Park films. Paul Rubens was the voice of Locke in A Nightmare Before Christmas, and Batmite from the Lego DC Comics Batman Beleaguered. Emma Myers as Enid Sinclair in Wednesday, and Natalie in the Minecraft film. Some cool new minifigures from that one. Kelsey Grammer as Beast from X-Men and the voice of Sideshow Bob in The Simpsons. That I did not know until I was doing the research for this. Then we have Jonathan Bailey as Fiero from the Wicked film and Dr. Henry Loomis from Jurassic World Rebirth. I swear to God, every character in that Jurassic World movie got a minifigure. Aaron Taylor Johnson as Pietro Maximoff / Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, and Kraven the Hunter in the film of the same name. Moving on here, we're into normal mode. These are people who have 3 characters, and at least 2 of them come from shared IP. We're going to kick things off with a number of Simpsons voice actors. First up, we have Nancy Cartwright as Bart Simpson, Nelson Muntz, and Ralph Wiggum, all in The Simpsons. Julie Kavner, similarly with 3 characters, all 3 sisters of Marge Simpson, her sister Patty, and her sister Selma. Then we're going to look at some Lego movie appearances. Liam Knight, the voice of Hart and Star from the Lego Movie 2, and Sewer Baby from the same film. Liam Neeson, the voice of Bad Cop and Pa Cop in the Lego Movie, and of course, as Qui-Gon Jinn in the prequels. We're going to keep it rolling with more Star Wars. What would Lego have done without Star Wars? Ben Burtt as the sounds of R2-D2, BD-1, and Wally. Tom Kane, the voice of Yoda from the Clone Wars, Senate Commando Captain Jafon from the Clone Wars, and Admiral Yularen in the Clone Wars as well. We have Silas Carson, who was a Republic pilot in Episode 1, Newt Gunray in Episodes 1 through 3, and Ki-Adi-Mundi as well in Star Wars Episode 2. We have Chris Parsons, who was inside and ambulating K-3PO and R-3PO and 4-LOM, all various two-armed biped droids from the original Star Wars films. We have Stephen Stanton as Admiral Raddus from Rogue One, Grand Moff Tarkin from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Rebels, and Griff Halloran from Star Wars Resistance. We have Sam Witwer, Galen Merrick, the Force Unleashed video game, Darth Maul from The Clone Wars and also Solo, and then Imperial Transport Pilot Athex in Secrets of the Empire video game. A lot of different cool voice work there for Sam Witwer. Then we have Ahmad Best as Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars Episode 1 and Kelleran Beck in Star Wars The Mandalorian, as well as the depiction of Darth Jar Jar in Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. We have Jennifer Hale, who is the voice of Satele Shan in Star Wars The Old Republic, Ayla Secura in The Clone Wars, as well as Jean Grey in the new X-Men 97 film, who got a minifigure depicted off that style in the new X-Mansion. We have Pierre Coffin, who is the Minions Maestro. He is the voice and noises of Kevin, Stuart, and Bob, all from the Minions Rise of Groot. And then both of his names have 3 syllables. It's Benedict Cumberbatch as the Necromancer of Dol Guldur and Smaug in The Hobbit, as well as, of course, Doctor Strange in the MCU. Up next, kind of a contentious one in the original video, Vin Diesel as Dom Toretto, of course, and Groot. But I was also told that you have to count him for 2 different Groots because the Groot that is grown after the original Guardians of the Galaxy film is a separate Groot, Baby Groot. So that's Dom Toretto, Groot, Baby Groot, all from Vin Diesel. Then we have Kazumi Totaka, the voice of Professor Egad from Super Mario, Yoshi from Super Mario, and KK Slider from Animal Crossing getting a cool little minifigure. Then we have Richard Hunt, the voice of Beaker, Statler, and Janice, all from the Muppets. And last in this tier, we have John Rhys Davies, who is Sala in Indiana Jones, Gimli in The Lord of the Rings, and voices Treebeard from Lord of the Rings as well. Moving on to intermediate mode, we have 3 characters from 3 different IP here. We are starting to get into a few of the heavy hitters for sure. First up, we're looking at Taika Waititi. He is the voice of IG-11 in The Mandalorian, Mo Morrison in the Lightyear film, and Korg in Thor 3 and 4. Kate Blanchett as Irina Spalko from Indiana Jones, Galadriel in The Hobbit, and one of my favorite Lego minifigures, Hela from Thor Ragnarok. Then we have Greg Sipes as Iron Fist in The Ultimate Spider-Man, Michelangelo in TMNT 2012 show, and Beast Boy in Teen Titans Go. Finally, looking at Harrison Ford, moved up into this tier with the new Red Hulk from Captain America Brave New World, as well as, of course, Han Solo in Star Wars and Indiana Jones from the films of the same name. Then we have Zoe Saldana, one of the absolute biggest box office actresses ever, as Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy, Neytiri in the Avatar franchise, and Anna Maria in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. 3 absolutely titanic franchises there for Zoe Saldana. Then we're looking at Mae Whitman, who is Katara from Avatar: The Last Airbender, April O'Neil from the TMNT 2012 show, and Batgirl in the DC Superhero Girls. Johnny Depp showing up as Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean, Tonto in The Lone Ranger, and Gellert Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, Owen Grady in Jurassic World, and Emmett Burkowski in the Lego movie mentioned earlier, not counting him for Mario because they have not made any Mario that was specifically based on the film version. Moving on to one of my favorite actors, Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian / Din Djarin in Star Wars, Maxwell Lord in Wonder Woman 1984, and the newly minted Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four First Steps film. Robert Pattinson here as Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire. Bruce Wayne in The Batman and the newly minted Edward Cullen from the Twilight set. Michael Keaton as one of my favorite MCU villains, the Vulture, as well as Beetlejuice and Batman 1989 version. Then Alfred Molina showed up as Satipo in Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then, of course, a great villain turn as Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2 and showed up as Sheik Amar in Prince of Persia. Jason Momoa with a new minifigure as Garrett from the Minecraft film, including his Duncan Idaho from the Dune franchise and Aquaman in the DCU. And last but not least in this tier, one of my favorite guys, Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster from Thor Ragnarok, Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park, and of course, newly minted the Wizard from the Wicked film. We're getting down to the real nitty-gritty of this list here. We are moving to hard mode. These are folks with 4 or more characters, and some of them are coming from shared IP. Once again, we're going to return to The Simpsons. We'll start off with Hank Azaria. He is the voice of Apu, Comic Book Guy, Chief Wiggum, Professor Freak, Snake, and last but not least, Officer Lou, all from The Simpsons. Then we're going to do Harry Shearer. He is the voice of Mr. Burns, Waylon Smithers, Ned Flanders, Scratchy, as well as Dr. Hibbert. Of course, there's Dan Castellaneta. He is the voice of Homer Simpson, Grandpa Simpson, Groundskeeper Willie, Krusty the Clown, Hans Moleman, and Itchy. Then we'll take a look at Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, Luigi, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Wario, and they even cut up some of his Mario voice tracks to make all the sounds for Bob back in the day. Then next, of course, we have Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy from the Harry Potter franchise, Sidley, which I think is from Planes or one of the Cars films, Leland Turbo. Now, this is an interesting one. It's actually just a printed tile. The character was squished up in like a compactor in Cars 2, and it shows up in the Oil Rig Escape set. And then, of course, Jason Isaacs, the voice of the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels. Moving on, we have Jon Favreau, one of the founding fathers of The Mandalorian, Pre Vizsla, the voice of that character in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Paz Vizsla in Star Wars The Mandalorian, Rio Durant in Star Wars Solo, and of course, who could forget Happy Hogan in the MCU. Then we have Matthew Wood was the voice of General Grievous in The Clone Wars, General Grievous in Star Wars Episode 3, Battle Droids, all of them across the Clone Wars. He was also the voice of the droid ROGR, Roger, from LEGO Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures, and he was Bib Fortuna in Star Wars The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett. Then we have Corey Burton as Count Dooku from The Clone Wars, Cad Bane from The Clone Wars and The Book of Boba Fett, Corey from The Freemaker Adventures, Shahan Alama in The Clone Wars, and Captain Hook from Jake and the Neverland Pirates. We have Tara Strong, huge voice actor here. She is Harley Quinn in DC Superhero Girls, Poison Ivy in DC Superhero Girls, Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls, and Raven from Teen Titans Go. Then we have the inimitable Warwick Davis, of course, as many of the old Star Wars characters, Wicket and Vald. He was BD in the Star Wars Solo films, Weasel in Star Wars Solo as well, Grip Hook from Harry Potter, and of course, Professor Flitwick from Harry Potter. Then we have Jim Henson voicing Kermit the Frog, Ralph the Dog, Waldorf, the Swedish Chef, and Ernie. Another classic Muppet voice, we have Frank Oz here as Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Animal, Bert from Sesame Street, Cookie Monster from Sesame Street, and of course, the original Yoda voice from Star Wars. Then we're going to take a look at Tamura Morrison here. He is Jango Fett from Star Wars Episode 2. All the clone troopers in Episode 2 and 3 will count them as one because there's just the clone trooper minifigure. Then there's some other variants that he does act as in the film. If he showed up in the film as these specific characters, I counted it. So that's Clone Trooper Pilot Captain Jag from Episode 3, Clone Trooper Commander Gree from Episode 3, Commander Cody from Episode 3, and of course, he is Boba Fett in Star Wars The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett. Then we have the legendary Mel Blanc as the voice of Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Tweety Bird, Sylvester, Coyote, Roadrunner, Speedy Gonzales, Tasmanian Devil, and Barney Rubble from the Flintstones. That is 10 different characters for Mel Blanc. Moving on here, we are nearing the very end of the list. We are at very hard mode. This is 4 or more characters that all come from distinct IPs. Very hard mode is like if the Baseball Hall of Fame had another more exclusive wing that was like a Hall of Fame within the Hall of Fame. The first one may seem like a bit of a cheat here if you believe in the Pixar is a shared universe theory, but we're going to go ahead and kick it off with John Ratzenberger, classic Pixar voice of Ham from Toy Story, Mac from Cars, the Underminer from The Incredibles, and also appears as Rebel Officer Major Bren Derlin in Star Wars Episode 5. Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, and Gary, both from SpongeBob, as well as voicing Newt Gunray and Nadar Veb in the Clone Wars. He voices Dr. Octopus in The Ultimate Spider-Man, and last but not least, is the voice of Ice King from Adventure Time. We have Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron from the Star Wars sequels, Duke Leto Atreides from the Dune franchise, Moon Knight in the MCU, Mr. Knight in the MCU, and Spider-Man 2099 in the Spider-Verse. A couple other contentious things from last time around with Oscar Isaac. People really insisted that I had to count Moon Knight and Mr. Knight as separate people, much like Groot and Baby Groot. And then Spider-Man 2099 did exist as a minifigure before, but wasn't actually attributed to his depiction in the film. But the new Spider-Man CMF series does have his version of Spider-Man 2099. Moving on, we have the legendary Mark Hamill, of course, Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, also voicing Bulio, Star Wars Episode 9, EV-99, Star Wars Episode 6, Trickster in the Justice League, legendarily voicing the Joker in Batman the Animated Series. He is also the voice of Beach Luke in Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, and he is the voice of Von Nebula and Black Phantom from Hero Factory. Next up, Samuel L. Jackson, of course, Mace Windu in the Star Wars prequels, Nick Fury in the MCU, Ray Arnold from the Jurassic Park films, and Frozone from The Incredibles. Then we have a few of my real absolute favorites coming up here. Andy Serkis as Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, Supreme Leader Snoke in Star Wars Episodes 8 and 9, Ulysses Klaue in Avengers Age of Ultron and Black Panther, and of course Alfred Pennyworth from the new film The Batman. Next up, we have Alan Tudyk, one of my favorite actors/voice actors working today. We have K2SO from Rogue One and future properties. We have Hey Hey from Moana, Tuk Tuk from Raya and the Last Dragon, and Valentino from Wish. Another of my favorite actors. Just a ton of bangers here in this tier. We have Stellan Skarsgård showing up as Luthen Rael from Star Wars Andor, Bootstrap Bill from Pirates of the Caribbean, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen from the Dune franchise, and Dr. Eric Selvig from the MCU. A bunch of huge franchises for Stellan Skarsgård as well. And then we're going to have Clancy Brown here in the close of this tier as Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob, Savage Opress in the Clone Wars, Lex Luthor in LEGO DC Superheroes, Dog Pound from the TMNT 2012 show, and Taskmaster in Avengers Assemble. Now, as we close the video here, we're going to go with a tier of its own. This is Legendary Mode. This is the undeniable, the unshakable, the legendary D. Bradley Baker edition. A tier of his own with 30 different characters as LEGO figures, and I have probably missed some. That's a crazy thing. There's probably more than 30. Ones I don't even know. Let's go ahead and jump into this list here. These are all distinct versions of characters that he has voiced. You're going to see a lot of clones on here, so it's going to feel like a cheat, but I didn't give him a million counts for a million clones. I only counted all the distinct named clones that show up in the show that he actually voices. So we'll kick off D. Bradley Baker tier with Momo from Avatar The Last Airbender, TikTok Croc from Jake and the Neverland Pirates, Sandman from Ultimate Spider-Man, Carnage from Ultimate Spider-Man. Then we've got the Clone Troopers in the Clone Wars, Captain Rex, Commander Cody, Commander Fox, Commander Gree, Commander Wolf, Commander Bakara. We have Saesee Tiin in the Clone Wars, Anaconda Farr in the Clone Wars, Thai Sen in the Clone Wars, Fives in the Clone Wars, Commander Gregor in Rebels. We have Echo, Crosshair, Hunter, Tech, Wrecker, all from Star Wars The Bad Batch. We have Nubs from Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures, Morris from Shang-Chi, and then a bunch of Ben 10 figures in Big Chill, Chroma Stone, Humongosaur, Spider Monkey, Swamp Fire, Jet Ray, and this dude even voiced Hammond from Overwatch. Just an incredible resume for D. Bradley Baker, taking home the crown as having by far the most of his characters turned into Lego minifigures. I hope he's got a wall in his home somewhere with all 30 of these bad boys on display because he deserves it. Make sure you let me know down below in the comments if I have missed anybody, because there's almost no way I made it through this one clean, and I would appreciate it to know so we can update it and everybody can have the most comprehensive list possible. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Sometime in the future, Lego will have released 1 billion more minifigures, and I'm going to have to update this list, and I want to make sure you catch that as well as my other content. Thanks again for sticking around to the end. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.